Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode on Nebo TV. My name is Agbache Onome, and it's a great pleasure to have you once again on this platform. And today we're going to talk about election in Uganda. The current president in Uganda has ruled for over 40 years, and no one has been able to challenge that fact over the years. But the election coming up in January 14th, 2021 is a case of revolution because the irremovable president Yoweri Museveni has been challenged by a young music artist and lawmaker called Bobi Wine in Uganda, who has captured the imagination of many across Africa in a generational clash. And because of these, deadly violence and repressive measures have alarmed observers as Uganda prepares to vote. Oh, this is a very dangerous situation. This is one example of African leaders that do not want to leave power. How can a constitution be abandoned because one man is in power? Democracy in Uganda has not only been buried, but the nation needs serious revolution to cause a change. Authorities have used COVID-19 pandemic as a reason to ban rallies in urban areas where Bobi Wine has strong support, including the capital, Kampala. In recent days, Bobi Wine has been arrested and blocked from staying in hotels while campaigning, and one bodyguard was killed. Bobi Wine, whose real name is Giakulane Sentamo, fears for his life as well. Critics alleged that Museveni, who successfully oversaw the removal of a constitutional age limit on the presidency, is taking advantage of the pandemic to militarize the election in which he almost certainly will be declared the winner. Oh yes. This is one aspect of the deadly coronavirus in most African countries. Coronavirus pandemic has resulted to a perfect excuse to siphon money, resources and others in African countries. Nigeria is not left out in this, and Uganda is now taking advantage of this to continue in its corrupt and autocratic system of government. Let's see from what year President Museveni started ruling. Museveni is a former rebel leader who took power in 1986 and brought stability after years of horrific upheaval. The 76-year-old Museveni, long a USA regional security ally, asserts a popular mandate in ordering security forces to crack down on people he calls criminals bent on undermining his government's authority. His campaign theme is securing the future of the East African nation of over 44 million people with at least 17 million registered voters. The disastrous thing in this whole thing is these African leaders go ahead to put their own family members in position that will enable them to retain in their position. The president's son, General Muhoozi, was named the commandant of Uganda's special forces, whose core role is to protect the president, and a military man whose last major assignment was to battle Islamic extremists in Somalia has been assigned to coordinate security forces in the capital during the election period. Can you imagine? Okay, let's see what Bobi Wine has to say about this. In the election, the 38-year-old Bobi Wine asserts that Museveni is part of the old guard that has presided over rampant corruption and dimmed the hopes of millions of jobless Ugandans. The country's population is one of the youngest in the world, with a median age of under 18. Bobi Wine has urged Museveni to retire peacefully, saying he would guarantee his safety. There has also been no reliable polling head of the vote. Museveni is thought to enjoy solid support among older Ugandans in some rural areas. But Bobi Wine has surprised authorities by drawing huge crowds in rural areas and dispelling the idea that he represents only the urban poor. Although Uganda's recent elections have been marred by violence, it is more intense this time. Security forces have been deployed to break up opposition rallies, and at least 54 people were killed in November amid protests after one arrest of Bobi in the country's worst unrest in years. Heavily armed security forces, including the army and military police, could be seen patrolling the capital, Kampala, and other towns, and have occupied several open spaces. President Museveni defended the military deployments during his New Year address and said they were to guide against violence he alleged is orchestrated by his political opponents. He said that he had deployed army units that have experience in urban warfare in Somalia because of weakness and corruption within the regular police force. But the opposition rejects claims that they are planning violence and say the military deployments are an attempt to intimidate voters and opposition supporters in order to suppress vote turnout and enable vote rigging. The president have been making lots of false accusations about Bobi. He called him all sorts of names, accusing him of being an agent of outsiders, homosexuals, and others who don't like the stability and independence of Uganda. The president has even made himself someone who can do anything. He can appoint and fire anyone he chooses to, whether by law or not. Late last year, 2020, he appointed the electoral commissioners and other key officials at the police body, and he fired the commission secretary and spokesperson. This is so outrageous. Even court rulings are always in his favor. It was reported that 3 court rulings found electoral discrepancies that favored him. Currently, because of the political happenings, fears are growing that violence will be even worse if the election results are disputed amid allegations of fraud. If Bobi wins, it would shake up the long-established order. Many in Uganda believe that regime change is unlikely without the involvement of the military. The United States Human Rights Watch and others have urged authorities to respect human rights. The U.S. Embassy has said group detentions and other abuses are not the sign of security forces who care about democracy and the future of the Uganda people. Out of hopelessness, some dismayed Ugandans have called for the vote to be cancelled, questioning the point in the country where the president criticizes election officials and speaks with confidence of a leader who believes he's not going anywhere. Bobi has said his party will try to protect the vote, including by deploying technology such as an app they say can track voting. They also will attempt to run a tally center whose results would be checked against official counting. That could lead to a confrontation with security forces who previously have broken up attempts to track election results. Well, this election is going to be a tough one, a really tough challenge between Bobi and the incumbent president that have stayed over 40 years in position, the person of Museveni. Alright, we're going to bring more news, more information about Uganda's election. So stay tuned because we are going to do a back-to-back episode of the election, and don't forget to tune in on Nebo TV live on YouTube on the election day, January 14th. My name remains Agbache Onome, so stay safe. God bless you and God bless Nigeria.